It's been 4 years since I posted my first video about this radio. 4 years. It hasn't felt that long at all, actually. After all these years reading your comments and answering questions, I recently felt like I needed to update you all on what my experience has been. In this video, I will only be adding to what I mentioned in my previous videos. So if you're looking for a more detailed look into this radio, my previous videos will be linked in the description for you to check out. Nothing much has really changed on how I feel about this radio, but there are a few things I want to emphasize and point out. So without spending more time on this intro, let me get into what my current thoughts are concerning the most reliable handheld radio I own, the Yaesu VX-6R. I'll cover 3 points in this video: durability, operation, and battery life. So, durability. I carry the VX-6R around with me every day. It's almost always with me, and as I stated in the previous video, I carry it in my everyday carry bag in one of the exterior pockets. Because of this, it has experienced a good amount of blows, as I usually toss my bag around without much care. This is something I am only comfortable doing with this radio. I have also dropped it a few times with a little concern of damaging it. Durability is still the main feature of this radio. Operation. I've used this rig countless times on local repeaters and for checking into local nets. Lately, I have been using it more on FM simplex operations, sometimes in conjunction with a half-wave 2-meter antenna. The signal stick antenna is still the main antenna I use. For portable use, the signal stick and the 6R are a perfect match in my opinion. I have had zero issues putting my signal out there. I continue to get good signal reports from simplex and repeater QSOs.
That signal stick's doing a good job for you there, no doubt, for that handheld.
So as far as the transmitting and receiving, this radio continues to do the job. The battery. I pointed this out in my 1-year review, and I mentioned it casually because at the time it wasn't something I considered much of a downfall, but has become somewhat of a concern. Let me explain. The issue is what I call a long-term self-discharge. What I mean by that is that over time, while the radio is shut off, the battery drains itself. Now this self-discharge is a slow process. It's not like the battery depletes itself overnight. It can take a few weeks, but it does eventually run out of juice on its own while the radio remains off. This was a mystery to me until I read a comment on the 1-year review video I made. The viewer mentioned that newer radios with a quote soft switch seem to drain an inactive current, while radios with mechanical switches, like my old Baofeng, execute a quote physical disconnect. This makes a lot of sense and sheds more light on the issue. I am curious to see if others with the VX-6R have been having the same issue. Let me know in the comments if you've been experiencing this. Fortunately, this doesn't end here. Now that I use it more, I am naturally needing to charge the batteries frequently, therefore nullifying the issue entirely. The only time this is an issue is if it sits there for a long time without being used. My concern is for the following application. If you want a radio that you can tuck away for an indefinite amount of time and only intend to use it on occasion or for an emergency, this might not work for you, unless you keep a schedule of charging the battery every 2 weeks or so. I have other ham and non-ham radios that can be left for months and have virtually no self-discharge. So I know I'm not expecting something impossible for a radio like this. This can be a real issue if you're expecting the battery to hold a charge in this type of use. As for battery life while operating, the battery holds a charge fairly well in my opinion. I have left it on overnight a couple of times, and it still has juice left for a good amount of operating time. So, no concerns at all for the battery life under regular operating conditions. Well, that's pretty much it. I do have some thoughts on the accessories I have been using with this rig, but I'll leave that for another video. I hope this update is helpful for existing and future owners of the VX-6R. I want to make it clear that any assessment I make about any radio is based off of my own experience and personal preference. The VX-6R may or may not be the best option for you. I don't intend to persuade anyone in buying this radio, but I hope making videos like this will help spread useful information and aid you in choosing your next radio. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more videos like it in the future, please consider subscribing. Also, I enjoy reading your comments and helping anyone with questions. Thanks again, and 7-3.